Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that, like, so a supposition, right? And an assumption, like an assumption and a supposition are like synonymous, whereas like a presupposition and a presumption are synonymous themselves, because both of them, like, they come before logic. Whereas
I don't care about that. I said it was an assumption.
Like, I'm confused what your point is.
What's wrong with that?
I'm not saying there is something wrong with that. I'm just saying that when
Well,
you
but
were,
it's a way you can mute your mic.
I mean, I can mute it like when you're talking. But yeah, no, I accept that. It's just like, if we're talking about the specific point that we were discussing in my worldview, of course, saying like assumption would be wrong insofar as it doesn't describe what I'm actually thinking. Sure. I mean, but actually that's not totally accurate, and I don't think I said that explicitly. What I said was my worldview is my worldview is what I experience. Can you show what specific part you're talking about insofar as what I wrote? Oh, okay. Okay, you're talking about, yeah, but that was my point when I was saying, like, when you try to like simplify stuff, you end up putting yourself in a position where like you have to use words that don't necessarily describe what you're meaning without being dishonest. So I mean, I was like trying to explain it to you.
Well, what are you trying to say?
If you want to, we could edit this to say your entire worldview is what you experience.
Perceive?
No, not perceive, because that's more specific. No, I wouldn't say aware of either, because like you can be aware of something and then go back and like have it before retroactively. So I think experience is probably best.
Why you objected to this term?
Objected to what specific term? Oh, so perception is like what you are. It's usually like connoted with what you're aware of, right? And so something can be happening before you're aware of it, and that thing that's happening before you're aware of it could go before the part where you are aware of it in your worldview. See? No, it is. It completely is.
Why?
Because it justifies you getting to the part where you are aware of it. Okay, well, I mean, why is that?
It's part. I never perceived it.
No, I don't think. Okay, so you perceive it. This is what I was saying before. You perceive it retroactively, right? But where you place it when you're starting off is before your perception, because you need to build up before you can reach the point where you can go back and then perceive it. It makes, okay, so I mean, it makes complete sense, but basically,
to you, not to me.
Sure, but like, think about it like this, right? You're building a house, yes, and then you need to build up past the basement, right? Before you can go back down into the basement and then like determine what the actual basement is. But you can't determine what the basement is until you actually start building it, because you have to use the stuff you built to do so. It But yeah, I don't think that would be accurate. Well, that's an analogy. So it's an analogy to like explain what I'm talking about. If you imagine like this in terms of ideas, right? So the basement is the foundational ideas, and then like if you want me to be very like explicit in what I'm talking about, I'm saying that before you build up your worldview sufficiently, I don't think you can perceive the arcane.
I don't know what it is.
So the arcane is the fundamental substance of everything else.
What's that?
The fundamental substance of everything else.
I don't know what that means. It doesn't make anything. It's gibberish.
No,
That's
it's
food.
a concept.
Word salad.
No, it's very explicit. It's just a concept. So if you accept things have a foundation, right? Then the arcane is the foundational substance of that. If you say, okay, if you say something is, right? The is, so you're following what I'm saying. If you say something is, correct? Yeah, sure. But like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like conceptually, so you're starting off and you say something is, correct?
Keep going.
But I want to know if you understand what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're saying. That's why I'm asking you. And that echo is ridiculous.
Okay, but if you don't know what I'm saying, then that's a problem that we need to stop and solve.
It's too much reverb.
Okay, so the statement something is, right? That denotes there is stuff opposed to not stuff in like everything, right? Yes, I described it with 2 words. What does something and what does is mean? The definitions as you understand them. Well, what you understand is
come on,
relevant.
Mike. He asked you a question. Yeah, he asked you a question.
Yeah. James, tell him what something.
So I want to fucking answer because I'm curious what you think since you're asking.
Dictionary definition of those words.
Insofar as I want you to explain what you... Dude, I want you to just tell me what you think. That's all I'm asking.
Doesn't matter why. Relevant.
It matters what you think because I'm trying to explain it to you, of course.
Tell him what something and is.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like you're trying to avoid... Listen, it just sounds like you're trying to avoid answering a simple question, right?
What the fuck? Is that guy in space? That guy is in space or something.
James. Because that's a requirement to like, you have to like, okay, if you're gonna be here, you have to have a fucked up mic. But what we're saying is that if you like, if you think something, right, we want to know like what that is so that we can actually talk about it. Cause you're like, I don't agree with this.
Hey,
and it's like, okay.
I didn't say I think that. You said you thought something. You were going to explain.
Okay, do you have an idea of what you think something, the word something, and is are? Like, do you have an idea of what you think those 2 things mean?
It's irrelevant what I think.
No, it's not irrelevant because I'm trying to talk to you, obviously.
No.
Yeah. Yes. Dude, come on, man. I mean, now you're just being silly.
Come on, James, play with him. Play his game.
It's just literally like a basic question. I just want to know what he thinks so that we can talk about the fucking ideas. But like, I have to actually, know what he thinks. Otherwise, like, I
Tickle
could
his
be,
fancy.
I could be talking past him if I like don't know what he thinks, right? Because I can't actually address his actual ideas.
Dark. I
Dark.
think we all understand something. I think maybe the word is something. Maybe can you define is?
No, but
Because-
like the point is that the other guy was using the words. He's asking, Dark is asking, what does the other guy mean when he says that? That is such a reasonable question. What the hell's going on here? You said, okay, no.
Stalemate.
You said that it
Stalemate.
wasn't true, right? You said it wasn't true.
I don't think that was ever said.
Well, I mean, like, it was, you were arguing with him, right? What do you think you were arguing about? So you're not arguing about anything. You're just being a contrarian.
Oh, shots fired. It's called you a
Sounds like
contrarian.
he's in Australian space.
Yeah.
Fuck. Scum.
No.
I think that's because he's in the car.
Of course.
So carry on with your worldview, man. Just forget all this definition thing. You just go with it.
Yeah, because I'm still.
No, but like, you guys don't understand how. Like, it's funny to me, but you guys don't understand how important this is because you have to.
I understand it. The
explain-
abstract box. I understand it. I understood the abstract box thing at the beginning.
I didn't. But
I understood
that's
that.
fine.
All right, so I guess I'll just continue on, but
Yeah,
James,
please.
I will ignore you because like you didn't answer my question, and
Do not ignore our leader.
I will ignore your proclaimed leader because
Doc,
like
by
he
the way, Dark Master,
didn't
do you have a
actually
first name?
explain. Hmm?
Do you have a first name, Dark Master?
Yeah, I'm still
James,
going
what?
speakers, bro.
James, what did you say?
James, let's go speakers. Let's go late. We'll get there like 4 p.m. Have a nap. Get all the mad people on there. Or in there. Or you want to go to the thing with that thing in Shoreditch? Just in Brick Lane. A sound system called Channel 1. Reggae sound
BBC
system.
One.
Channel 1.
BBC One.
Trust me, man. Enough little enough student flange there. Get me? You get me?
By the way, I should say, like, I mean,
No,
you
you
know,
shouldn't.
I don't.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
actually
absolutely. No, I should.
Oh, God.
I don't. I don't like it's. I mean, it's okay if you guys don't care that much about this. Like, I'm just talking about the stuff that I like study professionally and care about. So
I am genuinely interested in your worldview.
What
I
do you
think we
study
just-
professionally, by the way? Is there a term or an overarching like what is it you study professionally?
So what I'm studying professionally is philosophy, which is the foundational subject of every other subject. And then I'm also studying history, which is what we think people did.
Yeah, I like the way you said that what we think people did. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because like,
Because we don't know. For sure.
Well, I mean, like, we don't think that we have objective truth, but like we think that we have like good ideas which are fairly close in some cases.
Sure.
Sure.
No,
And so like that's actually, why in a sense why we do have abstraction as the first part, but then in the worldview, of course, like you're making the statement something exists, right? when you say the arcane.
When you say something, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Something.
Like there is a thing that exists. That is it. No. We haven't described the thing yet. So us describing the thing is like.
Everything.
But
Everything.
no, because that's terrible.
Really?
Because how do we know everything exists, right?
Okay. So all that there is exists.
There is.
If you don't want me to use the word everything, all that there is in existence.
So what exists, or there is, like.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say word twice, so that's why I said all there is.
Yeah. And then the stuff exists, right? So with what exists, it does different stuff.
Say that again, sorry.
Yeah, so with what exists, it does different stuff. So like the stuff that like exists, it like, of course, if you look around you, you'll see like stuff in like different shapes. You'll see stuff that you know, maybe functions differently. The stuff that is, right, it does things differently. It doesn't just remain static. Like you don't just see one thing, right?
So all that there is exists, but none of it. All that there is exists, but it doesn't all do the same things.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so now we're making it to next. Okay, so now we've got all that there is exists, but it doesn't do the same things. So we can move on from.
And then, so we have to say, like, okay, well, the stuff that changes, the stuff that does the different things, does it do different things with something that doesn't exist?
When you say doesn't exist, that's problematic.
Yeah, I mean, because it seems to conflict with our observations, of course.
You can't talk about things that don't exist when you're talking about things that do exist.
You're right. So that's why we have interchange, because the stuff that changes does it with itself. And that's point number 4.
Stuff that changes.
Yeah. You don't have to think about what the stuff, like you don't have to think detailed about the stuff, because like we haven't got to that point yet. So don't worry about that.
Okay. I'll go with that.
And then that stuff that changes with itself forms patterns, right? And then those patterns we can build structure off of. So like if all the stuff that's changing with itself like seems to generally do so in one way, and that way is like something we can like rely on to use, then we can
give me an example of something that changes itself to form a pattern. I'm not understanding that you say that stuff changes itself.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So it's like, so like, imagine before we have logic, right? Imagine we have a situation where like what we see around us does different things, but it all does different things with like the stuff that's like around us, not with something else, not with something that doesn't exist, but just with the stuff around us, right?
No, but I'm asking for like a specific example. I don't want.
Yeah, but it's hard. Okay, but it's hard to add specificity without like talking about logic, because like anything that I would add specificity to would entail logic.
I mean, if it's a good enough example, I wouldn't argue it. I mean.
Okay, well, how about this? Imagine you have a bunch of dots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the dots seem to form like certain shapes, right? All the dots seem to form certain shapes on average. So if you know that all the dots can form certain shapes on average, you can use that for yourself. Like you can use that to your benefit, right?
I'm struggling. I'll be honest.
So dots form like shapes, and then those shapes we can like do stuff with because it's like helpful since we know what they're gonna do. That's it.
I think I maybe slightly. There must be a better example.
You could, I mean, there's the metaphorical analogy that says, despite the fact that each climate is different, the differences between the climate are instantiated through the variations on the same variables. I don't know if that helps.
No, just keep going now.
Okay, so do you understand that the stuff like, okay, do you understand that the stuff that changes with itself, do you understand that that stuff that changes with itself seems to change in similar or the same ways?
I mean, like, we're talking about a flower. So maybe a flower's growing and it's changing itself. So
I mean, if that's what you need to think about to help you understand
the way that the flower next to it grows. So we can see one flower growing, and then a new flower is growing. It's the same flower. It will turn out the same way as the one next to it.
Sure. I mean, okay. So let's just review, right? So, and I promise I'm not like trying to like drag us into like the weeds, but I just want to make sure that you understand.
No, it'd be really nice if you could just actually sum it up everything in one sentence.
I
not try and
can't just because of like genuinely can't do that. I'm like, I apologize.
Maybe like 5 sentences. Just like, what
okay.
is it you're trying to say? I don't get it.
No, I understand. And
like,
I promise I'm trying to do the best. So stuff. LinkedIn stuff exists.
I think you're trying to explain how everything came into existence, but you...
No, I'm not. I'm trying to explain how I understand everything, and this is like something that people have studied for a while and drawn conclusions on. But no, I'm not like trying to explain everything because
it can't be explained. So I mean, it's almost a
pointless. Well, I'm not. It's not to say. So you don't want to say you can't. You want to say you don't know, and then you want to say like you have to use what you have.
Well, like, you don't know. I don't know. But I mean, I'm quite happy to accept that.
Yeah, but my point is so we use what we have to do the best job we can, and insofar as doing that,
oh sure,
yeah. So insofar as doing that, are you okay with starting off with saying stuff exists?
Well, of course it does.
Okay. And would you say that the stuff exists does seem to do different things?
The stuff exists. That's what stuff exists does. I'm not sure about the term different. It just what exists.
Okay. How about this? Do you accept that the stuff exists does things?
It does things. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Then that entails it doing different things. See?
Well, okay, yeah. So not everything's the same. So okay, it does different things.
Okay. And then the question is if it does different things, does it do different things with, say, something that does not exist, or does it do different things with, say, something that, you know, maybe some third or fourth option, maybe something that doesn't exist or does exist, maybe something else outside of that entirely?
What about expanding on the things that don't exist? Because I'm interested here about.
So not exist is just So not exist is just a lack of the first point. It's so if you say stuff exists, not existence is just the lack of that. It's the lack of the arcane.
Okay, so you, I mean, you probably won't agree, but it's totally possible nothing could exist.
But see, that's a claim. Like, we don't know that, right?
Well, no, because like things do exist, but things came into existence at some point, and when things came into existence at some point,
Did they come into existence?
It didn't happen.
Well, did they come into existence? We don't know.
Well, if you're using logic, at some point, if something exists, there must be a point before it existed that it didn't exist. That's
No,
what,
you don't. You don't.
That's logic.
That's not logic, because like you could have something. Well, that's not what people generally recognize as logic, because like what people, so if you just use standard logic, right, you can, hey, maybe something always happened to exist, right? Like because you have to logically justify a beginning point if you're gonna say one exists.
Well, you can't deny a beginning point. You can't say something always existed because there was a before always.
But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't know.
So there was a before always, and then therefore before always there was a start point.
You don't know. That doesn't mean you can say that there's a before point. That just means
I don't know until you're blue in the face. You don't know either.
But that's my point, that people are in, right?
So if you draw a line, where you start drawing a line, there is a before you started drawing the line.
Yes, and that is covered by abstraction, which, as we said before, is we don't know. It's a place before.
What you're saying is you basically don't know. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't know either.
Yeah, because we have to use what we have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know that there is a before. Maybe you don't.
I don't. That is true.
But I can work it out. It's quite simple to work out that before something, there was something before.
I don't think so, but maybe you could show me at some point.
I couldn't show you. It's like it's your worldview, and then there's my worldview. So, you know, that's fine.
Sure, but I like to argue because I care about what's like going on in the world, and so if you could convince me of a better point, then I'm willing to take that on, as long as, you know, you can meet my rigorous standards.
I don't need to. You don't need to. Like, as long as everyone's happy with their own worldview, it's fine.
Well, it's not about being happy so much as it's about like finding what is, to me at least. I mean, if other people care about happiness, I mean, certainly I care about happiness to an extent, but that's like, I mean, there's a lot of other things I care about as well, which don't make me happy, but which are very important.
Like you seem like a really nice guy.
I try. I mean, sometimes I am.
I mean, I'm not religious. Okay.
Neither am I. I'm not religious or theistic. I'm an atheist, and
I think what people would call me, which I found out. I think I'm a deist. I believe in a creator, but I believe that the creator has nothing to do with any of us on this silly little planet. doesn't
Yeah,
care.
I mean, deism is like a subset of theism. Like, so theism is, do you think a god exists? And then deism is a description of the god that you say exists.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's
you-
not like I don't consider it to be like a man with a beard in the sky.
Yeah, obviously, and like you may not be
I just
religious, you may
consider
be
it
a-religious.
Be a cause. Is the cause of everything. Because as far as I see it, we're talking about everything that is in existence.
Yeah, and I'm
And I
just like,
keep talking to you about the point before existence, and what I'm saying is that there was this maybe mythical bloody cloud that somehow did the Big Bang and everything came to exist.
well, I mean, we're well before the Big Bang. We're just saying that like even in that scenario, right, the cloud being a thing would still be existent.
Of course, yeah. I mean, but like we can't really explain that. I guess, yeah.
I mean, I'm not the thing is so I have absolutely like no conception of like what a beginning point could even look like, if there even is a beginning point, etc. And so I have
I get that. I too
comfortable at all talking about stuff that I evidence to understand. So that's my position.
No, I can like I don't know what a beginning point looks like, because then like if you talk about a beginning, then there's a before the beginning. And if you talk
But
about a before the
say,
beginning, there's a before the beginning.
right, but if you say you don't know where the beginning point is, then like where do we like? I'm sorry, if you say you don't know if there is a beginning point.
Well, there was.
Okay, so you're saying that there was a beginning point. You just don't know what the beginning point is in your mind.
I think it'd be that's the abstraction part, I guess, isn't it?
I mean, it's covered by that. Yeah, I mean, it's an acknowledgement by myself, like that maybe some other people have some like ideas that like that I don't accept, but it's just like an I don't know, but I also am strongly convinced, like, and you know, I'm not trying to be like an asshole here, but like I'm strongly convinced. Yeah, like I am strongly convinced that like other people don't know that like there is a beginning point or like anything even close to that, because I don't think that there's like any evidence in the world that we so happen to like live in and commonly talk about that even remotely suggests that. So I mean, maybe like even if there was something like that, right? Even if there was a beginning point, we have no way to even detect that. And if we can't detect it, then why would we say it exists? You know?
Just because it does exist. That's all I can say.
I mean, but that's no different than someone saying like,
No,
"Hey,
it's not an argument. It's not an argument.
yeah,
It's
okay,
when you say it. It's not an argument.
all right, fair enough."
But it's like it's faith, I guess. So I am slightly religious that I have some faith. I have some faith in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't.
No, that's fine.
My position is I don't know. So okay, so all right, so since we sorted out like what we think there, can we go back to my worldview document?
Like probably not, because you're quite academic. I'm not that well
Yeah,
educated.
but
I'm not stupid, but like I never went to university yet. I what
may I
you
ask,
say confuses me, because
Dennis,
it's words that you put together that to me I have to really struggle to understand them.
Yeah, Dennis, may I ask, like, what's the general age of you and your friends?
We range. I mean, I'm 43. Some are a few younger and some are older. All right, I'm not going to dox them or anything, but yeah, it's a
No,
widespread.
but I mean just like on average. So you're 43. Like say say, like, would you say the people that joined are mostly teenagers in their 20s, 30s?
They're mostly older, with an exception.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, mostly around my age or older. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And they're not stupid. They're quite generally they're quite respectful. But...
I mean, the main thing though is like, so I don't like. I honestly don't believe that this stuff is like that difficult to learn. I mean, we obviously carried on a conversation, and I imagine that if you keep doing this, like, you're eventually gonna like realize, hey, if we keep using this word and we keep meaning the same thing, like, we'll.
Sure, no, it's helpful to me to like. I appreciate like you taking the time to explain things to me, because it does help. But I have the same problem when I'm talking to them guys. They do the same sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, you put in all these words, like, you could just say it like in a different way, and I would understand it.
Well, I mean, I think that like, okay, I think that a good practice, personally, that I've learned is like, if somebody says something you don't understand, look up so a denotative is just like a commonly agreed upon like word. And so look up what a denotative is. I mean, like, look up, like, if someone says a word, look up what that word means, and then just like ask them if that's what they're talking about. And if it is,
I said to you earlier, everything. And rather than just giving me the leeway, you took me to task, so I had to rephrase it.
Yeah,
but
but I think sure, but like, didn't we make progress in doing so?
Well, I believe, but I think you could have just acknowledged the fact that when I said everything, you didn't have to tell me like.
But that's a little. I think that's like a little unfair, since it's like you have to understand. Like, so I, in a way, I sort of like live and breathe this stuff. Like, I mean, I study this constantly, and so these things have like specific meaning.
I'm not academic. Like, you need to speak to me like I'm a child, explaining things. You could have given me
Right. But it's like, it's like for example, I don't even treat children like, like they're idiots.
Thanks.
I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying is, so it's like the distinction may not be like clear to you in your mind, but it's like there's like very, very clear distinctions with like a lot of this stuff, and it's like extremely important to me that it's cleared up, because then if we're talking about different things like down the road, and you have like some, say, slight confusion that starts off that way here, then that'll lead into huge problems later on.
How many people have read your document and come back to you and said that was brilliant, I understood everything? Or do you get more people asking questions?
So it's a couple things. It's like I told you in private, the thing itself is actually like, it's not okay, so the thing itself needs a lot of development. Particularly it does need a lot of development in terms of like the substance, and in terms of like how we explain stuff. It's just that like what you were talking about, right, is not something that we would alter for clarity, because it would actually harm clarity. Like, I understand you think that like if I accepted that, it would be like easier, but it's like, my point is that would make it more unclear later on.
Oh no, but sure, like in a conversation, I think you could probably give me a bit of leeway, but in a document, sure, it needs to be.
But if I care about my document, which I obviously do, and I care about what I think, then I wouldn't want to give you that in the conversation, because it would be dishonest of me to mislead you into what I'm thinking.
As long as you're not misleading, if you explain it and you accept, like, I don't believe you'd be misleading me if you just accepted when I said everything.
I mean, if I made you think something,
When I said everything,
like if I made you think something that I didn't actually think, I think that would be dishonest.
okay. Well, you can argue with James next time.
I don't know if I want to argue with James. Like, not to
No,
be.
I don't like arguing with James either.
I'm
He's
no. Well, I mean, the thing with James is, at least in my experience, I don't know. He was pretty dishonest in that discussion.
He's pretty honest.
What I mean is, so right, I asked him a simple question, like, what do you think these words mean? And he did not want to answer, like, he did not want to answer that question, which was incredibly simple and incredibly fucking, like, easy to answer. Even if he was thinking something totally different than everybody else, that would have been fine. I just wanted to know what the hell was in his brain box, because that was important per explaining it to him. That's it.
He's more interested in what's in your brain box. He doesn't want to tell you what's in his.
Yeah, but I have to know what's in his to explain what's in mine.
Well, no, you just need to stand by your position and explain it.
Yes, but like communication is two ways, man. You like, if we're not speaking the same language, how am I supposed to tell somebody something?
He's infuriating. He's a nice guy. He's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, he may be. It's just like in that instance, it was sort of a question. That's all.
Well, I don't need to go and talk to James now.
I mean, he's welcome to he's welcome to argue why he didn't want to tell me what he thought, so I could tell him what I thought. But
I think maybe a topic change is in order, because I think we've done this one. If you don't mind,
I guess. I mean, I've already said all I needed to.
No. I mean, I'm not being horrible or anything, but like we've talked about it for a while, and
so Dennis, can I jump in there here a little bit?
Go ahead,
and ask probably both of you guys a question. I've been listening in for the whole time, and
oh wow.
I think one of the things that I picked up that you're saying is that if you could, well, you said it explicitly, if you could say it like I'm a 5-year-old. I've been a dad for about 9 years, and for the past 9 years, I've been doing exactly that, trying to explain, because before that, I've been studying ontology, which is essentially what Dark Master is doing. He's talking about his worldview that pretty much fits into the domain of philosophy that would be called ontology.
Am I finally going to get the explanation?
I'm going to try to, actually, because I'm not sure on Dark Master's ontology or worldview.
Well, I mean, ontology, ontology is on being.
Yeah, and the being of whatever it is that is holding a worldview seems.
You explain your view, and maybe it might help me out with his view.
It might help, and what I am picturing Dark Master doing as he's trying to lay out his worldview is he's setting up the stages of explanation that he would be able to give to others if they were to kind of play the game that he's playing. And he's essentially describing the way that he thinks about the world in his own subjective mind, and then trying to share that map with people.
By the way, I don't like the word subjective and objective, but I'll let that go, because
fair enough. Let me try and recalibrate that too.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I understand what you're saying.
Cool.
Don't use it anymore.
Gotcha. So yeah, but the idea though that this can be simplified to some degree, that there is some truth to that, but it loses, like if we're looking at a picture, it loses resolution when you do that. And you just end up looking at a lower resolution version of what I believe Dark Master has, a very high resolution rendering of an image that he's trying to convey from mind to mind.
Right.
So I'm not sure if I'm even being any more simple.
I mean, you're sort of explaining it okay, visionary, but I will say, like, to go to the low res thing, it's also sort of like what if like what's in low res actually makes like also big, like, contradictory, like, blur streaks, like, right through the freaking image, and it's sort of like that as well.
I think that's
I'm going
the
to use
case.
a word I don't usually use. So this is all basically supposition.
That's a good question, actually.
Because we don't know. Nobody knows. So we just it's a mental exercise.
It sounds like a mental exercise to me. Yeah.
We're trying to work it out, but we don't know. So we're putting forward our best explanations.
Yeah, from the honest starting point of we don't know, let's try to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So I've got a problem with like
And I think that the first point in that, the
have a different
presupposition, is to say that something exists, or like that. Even like in its most basic way, the starting point I think should be to say there is existence.
Yeah.
Well, we know what like the Christians and the Muslims we know what they think.
Right.
We know what some of them think.
Some of them, sure.
They wrote it in the stupid book, and that's that's what they feel.
Right.
But for the rest of us, it's a bit more difficult.
It's not case closed yet.
Yeah. Well, it'll never be closed. Maybe when you die, you'll find out.
Yeah. That'd be nice at the very least. I passed through Deism. Like I said, I've been at this for about over 10 years now. But Deism was one of the things that I landed in after, like, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and
God.
Yeah, I know, right? And I broke free from the cult, exactly. And then, like, I went straight to what I couldn't have, which was Satanism, and like, I just explored that.
Yeah, but what type? Because like even within like my position as far as Islam and Christianity goes is that there's so many types in terms of like how and what people actually believe that like it's very hard to like actually understand like what those beliefs are if people just say Islam and Christianity. Like I think that there needs to be like a lot of further clarification. So in terms of when you said like Satanism, what type of Satanism, visionary?
Nice. Yeah, I kind of would equate them almost as different like species, but then there's a whole bunch of different subspecies within those, like, because Christianity, I think, fragments into like at least 3,000 different dialects or sects or whatever they are.
Oh, actually, I really should like. Okay, so there was this theologian a while back that that argued that there were actually around, like, in terms of just Christianity, around 30,000, like in terms of like in terms of people thinking different things from like the time of Christian becoming like a common usage label to like the time of present. And then so some of those are like fairly similar, and then there's also like quite a few that are fairly different, even on like very core beliefs.
You could boil down all the sects of Christianity. They basically believe the same thing. Maybe there's maybe 2 or 3 different true beliefs that they have, but I mean, like you've got Catholics who believe in Jesus either.
Wait, what? Well, I mean, like, so you have a lot of different types of like Catholicism, but like, no, I mean, Catholics believe that like Jesus, I mean, normative Catholics, like in terms of most like sects of that, they believe that, hey, there's this like,
they do believe in Jesus,
they believe that Jesus like died to like save them from their view of sin, etc. And then you'll see a lot of that in a lot of in a lot of oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tired myself, but
you're getting tired.
You'll see that in a lot of Protestantism. There's huge diversity in Protestantism, and then you'll see a lot of like obscure cults in a sense, but also like that I mean, it's a little misleading when you say cults, because it's like some of them have gotten quite big, and like they hold quite a lot of sway, and so like I mean, these are like large groups of people that are calling themselves Christians that may have
Yeah, but they're just
fundamentally
arguing
different
about
views.
details.
No, but you,
Core-
like,
the core
dude,
is
on
really
like some of the
different.
core central
Yeah.
points, like a lot of those are like contested, right? Like so. I mean, that's what the Council of Nicaea tried to like. That's what the Council of Nicaea tried to like get rid of, because like you had people arguing about very basic things and like that sort of like doctrine, like the Trinity.
I mean, I didn't really want to get into Christianity because, like,
Right.
I believe anything written in a book tells you about a god is stupid.
Yeah,
So-
but all I'm saying is like there's huge diversity in that, and so like if somebody tells you that they're Christian, like that won't exactly like tell you what they believe, of course.
It's hyperlinked. Like you have to click the link and then it will open up into a whole logic list of the different variables that Christianity kind of come.
By the
Well,
way,
I
Dom,
sort of, I
the
mean,
people
even
recording this-
I would even go further.
Oh,
The hell's this?
So I would even go further to say like I think that like if we're gonna take the hyperlink example, I think that there's a lot of examples like the thing I mentioned with the Council of Nicaea of things like contradicting the like hyperlink in a sense to begin with. So what
yeah,
I
we
think
don't-
about
we
it
don't
more,
do it anyway, so we don't have to think about it.
I mean, okay, whatever. I'm just talking about how like what people think and like how they act. That's all.
Oh, sure.
I
I mean,
guess-
but, like we know this is like. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to a Christian. I don't know, but
I mean, I said I'm an atheist and an
No,
agnostic and an
I don't know about
atheist.
Visionary. Visionary probably said the same thing, but
Yeah, and I mean, like to answer the question about what kind of Satanism, I think it's whatever LaVey wrote, the Satanic Bible.
reading it upside down.
What's that?
Reading the Bible upside down.
Yeah, that's an atheistic part of Satanism, because there's a lot of parts of Satanism which are just like very counterculture, like social,
Right.
and,
Yeah,
like,
pro-individual.
Yeah, but then you also have like other parts that like, do you believe Satan is like an entity that exists, and so it's like distinguishing between some of them.
Right.
I'm much more interested in talking about Satanism than Christianity, because like we all know about Christian Satanism. On the other hand, is
It's not as widely known.
no, yeah,
Yeah, I agree. That's what pulled me to it too, is that it was just, hey, you're supposed to be against this character that is, they're all, to me, just fictions and or
Sure.
parables taken seriously. But I went into Satanism with the idea that I was doing something against like my religion that I was raised with.
You're rebelling, basically.
I was rebelling, exactly. And there was a phase right after that where I went really deeply into anti-theism. So I was just completely against any form of religion at that point.
Even
and-
Satanism.
Yeah, because Satanism lasted like maybe a
Rejected
few.
Satanism. Wow, you got to be a brave man to do that.
well, there's nothing scary about it anyway. There's no
Definitely.
rituals. It's
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
it's really just a kind of self-help before self-help books became popular,
So
enhancing the individual and to some degree, and don't turn the other cheek. Strike
Sure.
your opponent in the face.
hit him first.
Hit him. Yeah, exactly.
Smack him down.
They kind of
Okay.
inverted
Yep.
a lot of the rules that Christianity was kind of propped up by. So after that, anti-theism, then I think I got into Buddhism, and then shortly thereafter that is when deism started to kind of percolate in my mind.
Jism.
And deism, like what
Oh,
is?
deism. Sorry.
Yeah, isn't that what your
Yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so, like, as a point of relation, I'm trying to see if there's, in your worldview, it sounded like you were that you were fairly confident that there was a beginning and that there's a mystical explanation that we don't know, but could kind of talk about it in looser terms, so as to get at least a glimmer of insight. And even if that insight was misleading in the end, it sounded like you were okay with something like that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's not like I could not give two fucks
Come on, give at least one fuck.
I couldn't give a fuck. Okay.
That's cool though, man. I kind of appreciate that cavalier attitude towards it.
But it's just what seems more plausible to me. I mean, it doesn't influence my life. It's not something that ever comes up unless I'm talking to people about religion or having this kind of like. It's not like I go around telling people this shit usually.
Yeah.
But,
Or you're wrong for thinking that thing that you're believing in.
yeah, no, I mean, it's like somebody comes up to me and says, "I'm a Christian." It's like, good for you. Like,
Right.
how you doing? And it doesn't matter to me what somebody believes. It's not so, like what I believe is just what makes me feel happy, I guess.
Fair enough.
Like I guess that's my worldview. It's the same as Dark Master's got his worldview, and that's what makes him feel happy. And he probably doesn't go around ramming it down people's throat unless you get into a Discord debate about it, or and it's all fine,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't prove it. None of us can prove any of it because none of us know. And yeah, it's just to me that I had to, like, we've talked for ages, and then I just had to say I don't understand what your worldview is, and I had to say, well, this is my worldview, and that's the only reason it came up, is because I wasn't understanding.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a safe mechanism to employ, in my opinion.
And I just felt that I had to say it because the conversation seemed to be about like why you're an atheist, and maybe I'm not an atheist, so I'm
right.
Like taking it back to the beginning, in quotes, is where I felt the conversation had to go, because taking it forward was only going to be even more confusing, because it's not my worldview.
Could I offer like a point of curiosity that you might be able to entertain?
Sure, of course you can.
So you talked about nothing as a possibility.
I did, yes.
And if for the sake of clarity, let's call it nothingness, and maybe like a factual example or instance of nothingness seems to my mind as something that could never happen, or an impossibility.
Well, it didn't. We're in a place where nothingness didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Because everythingness. I hate to use the word because it's like not everything, but
yeah, fair enough. Though I think I'm tracking you.
You know what I mean? It's like what exists.
Yeah.
And it could have been so easily heads or tails. It could have been heads.
Right. So
all
like
comes about, and tails, it never came about. Well, I don't know. Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. Never. Yeah.
I mean, didn't you just say it could have been heads or tails?
I did. What? Huh? SPQR. Isn't that like the police? The police or something? I know it's Roman. It's Roman. Okay. SPQR is Latin for something, isn't it? It's the Roman. Yes. Yeah. I don't know what it means, but it's like I know the letters. Yeah. So sorry, I said never. I said never.
But no.
When I said never, like it depends on how many times the coin gets flipped, I guess. So maybe the coin was flipping all the time.
I'd like to get back to something. So Dennis, right? I mean, if you think that it's more plausible that a beginning happened, right?
Sure.
Or even that like you think it's possible and I don't think it's possible, like can't we talk about that?
We've been talking about it. I'm not dismissive. We have been literally we've been talking about it.
I don't know if we really have. I think we've been more like talking about like I don't know if we've been like talking about that itself.
Get on this server?
No, fuck off, you can.
I mean, not yeah,
Who's
not,
echoing?
I am so not like explicitly, right? So like don't be like super toxic to the server. But yeah, I mean, if you want to fuck around, that's fine.
I know, I'm
It's-
only joking, man. Don't be...
no. I'm just
Say like
explaining
that.
because
It's only having a laugh.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
nice, huh?
yeah, I don't want to confuse the new members.
Yeah.
So what I will say is like we should like talk about where differences are. I think because then to a better understanding with that.
Who am I talking to? I'm not quite sure. Is it you, Dark Master, talking?
It was a moment ago.
Okay, because we got two guys that are recording. Apparently, I don't know if that's what they're doing.
I mean, yeah, it's like that's whatever. I didn't initiate that.
No, it's fine. I don't bothered.
Yeah.
So what are we not talking about that we should be talking about?
Oh, so it's like here we have a fundamental difference like about something, and it's like I'm just interested to know like what made you like come to that, right?
I'm sure I just said it to Visionary like a minute ago. It's just the conclusion I came to, and it makes me, I'm happy with it. It makes sense to me.
I mean, those are two different things, right? So like, I mean, what makes you feel good, and then like, of course, what
no, because we're all
is
looking
true.
for information. Yeah, so we're looking for like, and this is why like prescribed religions come about. It's just a bunch of people trying to explain why they exist, what
I agree.
how they came to be, and then some people thought, well, we'll write a book about it, and then try and get people to agree with it. Yeah, and that's all nonsense, and that's what a worldview is, isn't it? It's just you're trying to explain to yourself and maybe to others, fine, like what the meaning of life is, I guess.
Well, it's more than that, but sure. Like, I mean, it's trying to explain what is, but like, I mean, I don't think that there's like equality in that.
Does it have to be? Does there have to be? I don't know.
Like when I say that, I mean I don't think like if somebody thinks something differently. I mean I do think like I can accept that they think that way, but I don't accept like what they're saying is true. And I mean I also like think that
I feel exactly the same way about what you're saying. But like,
sure, but like isn't there a way we can go about like determining like which one of us is right?
No. There is no way to determine who is right about this stuff.
We can't. I mean, like, can't we just like talk about our experiences?
We can talk about it. We'll never come to. Nobody will ever be 100% correct because.
Oh, but we're not talking about that. We're just talking correct on this.
Sorry, you broke up a bit there.
Oh, so I just said all we're talking about is being like correct on this, not 100%.
Well, if you're not 100% correct, then you're wrong. I'm sorry, I'm taking a leaf out of James's book. He would do that to you.
So it sounds, Dark Master, to me like your worldview has a like adjudication like module or something like that you could employ that would evaluate different worldviews, kind of see how different worldviews measure up. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah, because mine is based off of what I have, and I use what I have to go off of what other people say they have.
Yeah, so kind of.
You're not entirely alone in that fact, because that's what everyone does, but they just have different information than you do.
Sure, but it's like I also think that like if you do spend a lot of time on this, right, you can come up with things that are better, and those things that are better, we can use that to establish things which are more likely to be true than things that are not.
Also, you can account for variance.
In sync, your mic is like spectacularly terrible in that sense.
Bless him. He's a long way away in Australia or New Zealand or somewhere. Bless.
He was kidnapped by zombies and he's being held for ransom, but like they're also letting him speak in this particular Discord call.
You can try again in sync. Try again. I'll see if I can translate it for everyone. I've got headphones and stuff. So. Okay, maybe not. Where were we?
Well,
I thought Viz was gonna say something.
let me see if I'm tracking you, Dark Master. And I think I caught a little bit of what NSYNC said, but it sounds like you can account for variables, is what NSYNC said, and I think that might be something that he knows about you.
Right. Yeah. No, we have talked quite a bit for sure.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, okay. So I'll let me explain to you what I think, just
Okay,
so we're on
okay.
the same page. Also, I'm also kind of tired, so I may go soon.
Fair enough.
But let me explain to you what I actually think. So I start off with abstraction,
Mhm.
which is basically saying I don't know, like because before I say I know, or I will start here. I start off with I lack like everything, right?
Is it trying to like neutralize presuppositionalism in a way?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that as much as it's just trying to explain like why I start with a presupposition.
Yeah. Okay. It's making the presupposition like transparent, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's accounting for other people's different presuppositions.
Cool. Yeah, I think I track it.
Okay. And so then my first like presupposition is what I call presuppositional metaphysics, and it's just saying, hey, stuff exists.
Mm-hmm.
That's the presupposition.
Yeah. It's very controversial.
Then the stuff that exists, that stuff changes, like it does different things, right?
Well, that's the part where I would partially diverge, but I can hold that. So go ahead and keep going.
So the stuff that exists that changes, it doesn't change with something that doesn't exist, and it doesn't change with some third or fourth option, at least as far as I understand.
Okay.
So it interchanges
with itself.
Right.
Okay. So,
and then those interchanges. No, go ahead first.
Are you familiar with like gauge symmetry?
Not explicitly.
Me either, really. It's just something I saw in a recent Joe Rogan podcast about like some. If you go to like planethopf.com, HOPF, there's like this mathematical object that kind of seems like a visual representation of what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I think we have to get to logic before we could talk about math, but then like
True.
But like, you know, that
I'm jumping the gun with that just for visual sake.
Yeah, but in the document, like I'm not there yet. So basically after interchange, the stuff that changes with itself, like changes with it seems to change with itself in a similar way, or maybe the same way. I don't state that explicitly. I just suggest that it's like one of them. Like I sort of more say though it's like it changes like it looks like it changes. It looks like the stuff that changes with itself in a similar way.
Okay.
And then from there, I form patterns, right?
Okay.
And then from the patterns, I say that you can build structure from the things that seem to do the same thing. And then from there is when I start to build the structure, which is logic.
Okay.
And that's the first chapter. And then so the second chapter is on the laws of thought, which is like where I start to build that logical structure. And then from there it's it's going to talk about things like truth, belief, math, and that's going to all be the second chapter. And then the third chapter is going to distinguish between like your subjective self and then like the objective, and then the fourth will distinguish between what you care about in that, and then the fifth will be about like the scientific method and stuff. And it's quite rudimentary in terms of like it needs I think it needs quite a bit of development, but I only just started. Like so basically I'm fairly well studied, but it's like I haven't integrated my ideas to the extent that I would like, and so I'm trying to like do a much better job of that, and I think it's coming along fine, but it just takes time.
It for sure does. And once you start writing it, it kind of starts to almost attract more clarity, because you can almost like see your thoughts out on pages, and I don't know, that helps me at least.
Yeah, no, same with me. And then so what I was thinking about doing after the scientific method, or around that point, is then having different documents that say maybe go over my positions in relation to what primarily pertains to psychology, or maybe maybe politics, or maybe whatever else,
like epigenetics or something.
Yeah, just what relates to like a particular like large subject, and then like elaborate on detail where I encounter common positions that I have, and like what other people are talking about.
Yeah. I really appreciate the effort too, though, man, because this is like, it's not something that people generally take it upon themselves to work through in like a formal and kind of scholarly way. And I love the fact that you've been working on it like this, even if it's something new. Like keep going with the momentum as much as you can.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk about like yourself and your studies. And
well, what I was catching as a kind of crossover, like the way that I described my first impression of your worldview is a way that somewhat corresponds to what I'm trying to refer to as my agenda. And I think I hold back talking about my agenda because it will become like a almost weird obsession at a certain point. But here it is in basic like layout. I kind of look at everything that's happening on Earth as a game, and then I look about what we think about what's happening on Earth as a metagame. And then I think about the ways that we can improve both of those subjects as what would be an imaginary game, or something based in pataphysics. And I call that a patagame. And each one of these categories are all kind of like, they're all hyperlinked in a way to where they open up into a way that would be ordered in discussing the kind of necessary axioms that you would need in order to discuss the contents of each domain.
Yeah, I mean, like certainly, like of course we would maybe have to talk about specifics in order to actually like determine what a lot of this like means. But I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about ethics, which I then use to like derive my politics from. So like if ethics I think is how people should treat each other, then I think then I think people shouldn't harm each other. And I think that harm is the unwarranted infringement upon a competent agent with a valid capacity of consent without demonstrated justification of further method to protect such agency. So essentially, I use that to then derive my politics.
So that sounds like I would collapse what you just said into respect of autonomy.
I would say autonomy with an emphasis on social mobility, but you could maybe say it also like I value the individual fundamentally, but then I value the individual's like autonomy, and then I think the social mobility is like an important means of achieving autonomy. And then I also think that like you do so through the collective because math.
Wait, it dropped out right there. What'd you say?
Oh, I said I think you do so through the collective because math.
Ah, nice. Huh.
Like if you have, a bunch of people, you can obviously do way more if like they're, working toward the same goal and get a better result of autonomy for the individual.
Totally. Yeah. So many hands make the load light kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, fair enough.
Yeah, sorry if I'm like really tired.
No, it's chill. It really is just a mic issue when it drops out or I don't know, connection.
Yeah, my internet's also been fairly terrible lately. I won't deny I probably was getting a little like frustrated in a sense talking to Dennis just because like it sort of seems like he and I don't know if he was doing this intentionally or not, but it did seem like he was just like talking about like stuff and sort of trying to in a way like maybe not have the full conversation when I invested all this time in having this conversation. So
yeah. So is that to say like it seemed like he had reservations on like opening the whole Pandora's box of it?
Yeah, maybe part of that, but I think my issue was just like that it came off like I wasted my time in a sense.
I definitely can sympathize with that.
Totally. Yeah, maybe I didn't totally, but
I don't think you did. And I was listening silently just to kind of get some background understanding on what it is that you're doing without my direct interaction. Because I think, I don't know, I don't want to sound presumptuous, but I think when I start talking, I tend to direct conversations in accord with my agenda, which is usually why I just try not to talk.
I don't know. I think that's like, if what you believe is like correct, I don't think that's like necessarily a bad thing. Of course, maybe we have to add a lot of qualifiers to that, but still.
Fair enough.
I don't think that's like a problem.
Cool,
especially if you spend a lot of time on it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've practically obsessed about this for over a decade.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I think that I think though that this is a good reason why I don't go out of my way to like debate as nearly as often as I used to, just because like it's usually like a lot of this is just not worth my time as much as like actually doing stuff like writing this document is, or reading like this old book, which is like pretty important to like not just people socially, but maybe there's like these really good ideas in them, or just maybe I should like work on this other project that's extremely important.
Yeah, man.
And
It's a priority list, right?
I guess the older I get, it's like the more debates like are becoming less important.
I'm very happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good value to put debates lower than dialectics, like or value dialectics higher, or the pursuit of truth, whatever that entails for your individual kind of preferences. I think that's good to stay kind of focused on exploring your worldview, so that at least you know what you think you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I think it's also reflective in the types of debates that I care about. So I've made explicitly clear that I tend to value a Socratic method quite a bit, which I essentially view as like, hey, X person thinks one thing, Y person thinks another. Let's like try to work this out and see if we can come to some sort of common understanding.
Yeah.
And then the debate itself is just like the idea that we have ideas that don't that don't work together, and we're trying to resolve that.
It's definitely one way that we try to evidence arguments.
Yeah. And I think that those debates like tend to benefit people the most. I mean, I think that there are situations where debates can be like about appearances, like what the sophists worked on, but I don't think that like those debates are like something that people ordinarily like need to engage in. Like I think that those are like for like that's reserved for say like a major like political debate where the goal is to like appear in a certain way to like the audience, not so much like establish like truth.
Yeah. Or personal preference.
Yeah, and it's just not something that matters. Like, I mean, people think it matters a lot, but I don't think it actually matters a lot in terms of like what benefits people's lives.
I do think there's a lot of confusion in terms of humanity's collective understanding of what a benefit is.
Yeah, I definitely can accept that.
So let's see.
Sorry if I was so fucking tired.
No, I'm getting there too, man. It's 1:25 where I'm at.
Maybe I'm giving you guys some contagious yawns.
Where are you at? What time zone?
Oh, I'm East time zone.
Okay.
Okay.
See, I'm in Tennessee.
Cool. So you have children then?
Yeah.
So
3
talk
of them.
about your educational background, etc., and like your life in general.
I pretty much just tested out of high school and didn't give two shits about learning back then. And shortly after I busted free from my cult, I had also busted free from my marriage. Very short, should have just been an old kind of marriage. And at about 2004, I traveled across the United States with a couple bands, and that was just the start of me learning outside of my own bubble. And that's pretty much when I started to love learning and calibrating very much, I guess, worldview options. Because I used to argue over musical preferences and why people liked a certain band over another. And when I found that most people couldn't tell me why they liked what they liked and why I thought that I could, I felt conflicted by that realization. And I kept trying to find different ways of expressing this mechanism that seemed to be able to evaluate the hierarchy of values that I didn't understand at the time, but that I now have the language, or I seem to have the language to do. But that's, like I said, 10 years of developing my verbal facility to a place where at least a person like Matt was able to go, wait, slow down, what are you talking about here? And ask me the proper kind of Socratic questions. But yeah,
if you don't
you
mind
see how I
me-
kind of jump all around.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But if you don't mind me asking, like, do you have a college education?
No, not at all.
I see. That's okay though.
It's like I tried college once, and it was just one semester of English and art.
Yeah, see, for me, I mean, I've graduated college sort of, but with a degree I don't care about that much. So I'm focusing now on like what I do care about in college, which is history and philosophy. But before that, I want to get this document because I'm sort of on a break, and I want to get this document squared away because this will improve my function drastically in college. So that's
Nice.
yeah.
Dude, I definitely think that's too.
Supposedly people say that where I'm headed, I'll probably be like a philosophy or history professor. But I guess we'll see what actually happens.
That's kind of what I wish I would have steered towards at at college age.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but yeah, I have done quite a bit. Again, sorry if I'm tired, but yeah, I have done quite a bit. Like, I recently won the Presidential Medal of Volunteer Service, for example.
For what group? Like what group is that?
What group?
Yeah,
Like,
presidential.
Like what type of award?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you have 4 categories. You have bronze, silver, gold, and then a tier higher. I won gold, which is right below the top. The top is usually for people that are like in their 70s or 80s, roughly. But but still, like usually people that get gold, I think they're usually around their like 30s or 50s.
Okay.
So considering I'm still in my 20s, that is like a good thing.
I'm made of gold.
And that's just the actualization of the ethical model I was describing to you further. So it's just a result of that.
The ethical model?
Yeah, that I was talking about before with him.
I have to take ethical decision making next semester. Which I feel like ethical decision making is an opinionated class.
I mean, ethics is ethics is how you treat other people, and then like an ethical model is how you think you should treat other people.
Well, they make me take ethical hacking, and then I have to take ethical decision making after that, because I guess they don't want you to make unethical decisions with your abilities.
They're trying to control you, man.
Right. I mean, you have to sign a contract before you take the class saying if you use your powers for ill will, they'll send you to prison for life.
Really?
But, yeah, you can get extra hard punishments if you get caught after getting your ethical hacker certification.
So is this like white hat hacking or something?
No, yeah. Like penetration testing, things like that. Like you can be a certified ethical hacker or penetration tester.
Damn.
This sounds like some superhero shit. Like, hey, you can have these powers, but like, if you use them for evil,
it's like Uncle Ben. He's
Yeah,
like, with great power comes great time in prison if they catch your fucking ass.
Yeah, it's literally like fucking legal Uncle Ben. That's funny.
That is.
I'm excited for it.
It seems like a cool thing to know, man.
I'm also getting a Cisco cert along with it, and network admin certification.
Visionary. So, like, what's your age? If you don't
I
mind.
am 36.
I see.
I use 20.
You're 20?
Yeah.
Ah, good going, man. Stay at it then.
I'm hoping to go to Warsaw Tech after I finish community college.
Yeah, keep accumulating those years of age. It's quite difficult. You have to stop yourself from dying. It's quite a challenge.
Well, I gotta work on that.
It doesn't just come naturally to you.
I gotta stop drinking soda. That's gonna kill me.
And you gotta do this thing called eating, and then there's also these like bathroom and like cleanliness habits, which are really important.
It's easy to get off track. I mean, I bathe religiously. I have really bad anxiety about smelling nice, but I mean, it's easy to forget to eat when you're in college because you'll go home, you'll be exhausted, and you'll just pass out and then wake
I'm
up.
irreligious. You're banned from now on. No. No, but I get what you mean, for sure.
Yeah. Very easy to neglect the body when it's kind of just running on mind fumes, it seems.
I need to learn Polish if I'm going to go to Warsaw, though, so I need to squeeze that in. I want to. That just sounds badass. Warsaw Tech.
It does sound badass.
Fucking Warsaw.
I know. Whoever named it was just in badass mode or something.
Well, I mean, it's because like of the Warsaw Pact, which is.
If you're a non-EU student, it's only $8,000. If you are, it's free.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Average price of college in Poland is $10,000 max.
Making up for all the damage, huh?
Yeah, they went really capitalistic after communism fell down there, and their economy's kind of exploding right now because of it.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's a little complicated. So, like, for example, I mean, it's definitely not because of a capitalist system that they have education that low. It's more just like a structure of priorities. So, like, you know, of course, in like today's day and age, in like very broad terms, you have a huge mix of social and capital in terms of like what influences how.
It's probably partially because of the European Union, but they have competitive college pricing in Poland. That's part of the reason it's so low. Colleges are competing because.
Do they get subsidies?
I'm not sure, but Poland's becoming a really move-to country. They're getting a lot of students who are coming to their country, so colleges are trying to encourage its students in Poland to go to their college. So they've been lowering their prices accordingly to try and say, "Hey, we're cheaper. Come to us."
Yeah, I'm curious about that, like whether or not because like if they are getting like, I mean, if they are getting like really like. If they are getting subsidies, that would explain very easily their low tuition costs, because like of course things like you know skilled professors that have spent their life studying things like those aren't cheap, and resources, etc. But like I mean if the government is like paying for that so that like
they've been controlled by the Law and Order Party. It's like a upper right wing group. They're very, very economically conservative. They've been in control of Poland since the communism and socialism stopped in Poland. And they control the houses of Congress and the presidency in Poland.
Yeah, I will just say though, I don't accept that premise in the sense of like, I mean, like the Soviet Union collapsed, but like of course, like economic systems, they're quite varied. As far as what I was saying though, like, I mean, I just wouldn't be surprised if Poland was getting subsidies, because like that would easily explain how they're able to keep costs so low, since like if the government thinks like, hey, having like developed people in our country is a good thing, which of course it's like good for anywhere, then of course they would spend a lot of money doing that because
the job market's very big there too. And I mean, the average price of an apartment in Warsaw, their capital city, is $500 a month at most, which is ridiculously low. Yeah. In New York, the same apartment would cost you $1,800 a month.
Wow.
It's ridiculously low.
Is it snowy?
Their IT sector is exploding right now. That's part of the reason I want to go down there. And Google's moved headquarters there. They have some of the fastest internet in the world. If you go to Warsaw, like there's constantly businesses being built right now. It's odd. There's also a bit of a Brexit movement in Poland right now, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's gaining momentum. It was a bit of a whisper like 30 years ago. Now they've got like a quarter of their party on. So it might be another, 20 years before they do it, but I see Poland doing a Brexit within the next, 50 years.
I appreciate the prediction, man.
Yeah.
I'm not a political scientist or anything. Just
Right.
It's a pipe dream.
Yeah, but no, it just sounds like you at least have enough input to make a educated guess.
The only thing I disagree with slightly is socially, they're kind of like Catholic conservative, which I'm more for separation of church and state, but
yeah,
I'm willing to sacrifice that if it means paying lower taxes and just less taxes in general.
I'm a market socialist, technocrat, globalist.
So are you for higher income tax?
Yeah, I would say. Well, I mean, of course, that's like a relative question because it's relative to like where we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, on average, I would say I am for higher income taxes. But I support that in like a progressive sense, in the sense of like it being a progressive tax rate. So like the first X amount of money is like it's charged X rate, say, and then as
I understand a progressive income tax bracket.
Okay, good.
I don't like paying. I'm more of the taxation is theft kind of ideology. I don't like the government taking money away from me. I think it's not nice.
Yeah, I lean on that side a bit more.
If the Netherlands, I was thinking about moving there, and with my Cisco engineering degree, my medium to low minimum price salary would be $100,000 a year. So I looked up the income taxes on that, and in most European countries besides Poland, I would pay about $47,000 in tax.
Damn.
And I'm all for, if you want to have a progressive income tax, fine, but that's theft at that point. You're taking almost half of my income. Because at that point, you're not providing an initiative to work anymore.
De-incentivizing it.
I had a friend who was a doctor, and after he made about $165,000, he wouldn't work anymore, because if he made any more than that, he'd get put into a new tax bracket, and he'd end up he wouldn't be able to work enough hours to make up for the amount in taxes that they would take out.
So that is why I say like a progressive tax, because like that solves that specific problem.
Well, progressive, that's I guess that's an opinion on what a progressive income tax would be, because
when I said progressive, like,
large jumps.
I was like specifically talking about what I was describing.
Poland's even got kind of high taxes. They go from, if you make they only have two tax brackets. If you make below 85,000, it's 18%, and if you make above 85,000, that's 30%, I believe. Which that's kind of on the high end, on above 85,000.
But the reason most developed countries have a progressive tax is because it's not like it's like 18 or 30%. It's more like the wealth that is above a certain threshold is taxed at a higher rate.
Well, I was looking at income taxes, not wealth, not like actual savings.
Yeah, different taxes can be taxed at different rates, of course. Of course. So of course, like the specifics can be talked about. I'm just to, I guess, finish what I was saying before. I am I'm a left libertarian. I'm socially libertarian. I am maybe what you could describe as a left anarchist. I am a technocrat. I'm a market socialist, which just means like I believe the government should be directly involved in business, but I also think that like people should also like have private businesses as well. And I think the market's a good thing.
I'm for regulations to prevent monopolies and things like minimal regulations, but still allow businesses to be private.
Yeah, my only concern with that is so I basically care about people in like rural areas, and I think that you wouldn't have those like settlements if you just had regulations.
Figured out. Did you know Switzerland has no minimum wage?
Huh.
People
I didn't.
like to. I mean, I figured out because people like to point to Switzerland as some socialist paradise, and it's not really a socialist country per se. It's actually got very low income taxes and no minimum wage. I think it's like the second happiest place on earth next to Denmark.
Yeah, I have my wife's relatives live there, and they really take care of their people.
Well, it's also I think it's also like dependent on, first of all, how a state earns its money, and then like what they can do with that money. So like, you know, the reason, say for example, when people are talking about like say systems that protect against income inequality, they usually talk about things like Norway as being more of a model, because like, you know, in that instance, you have like less reliance on, say, like banking as an incentive for people to spend their money there. Of course, like it is hard to compare countries in the sense of like it's hard to compare countries in the sense that you would describe exactly how they function, because it's like, say, like Norway, again, it's like heavily dependent on oil, you know, which you know, is something that's like finite, so that of course doesn't last forever. But you know, like you definitely can construct like systems that do, etc. Of money sustainable model, which I mean, I think is very, I think is quite easy. But I mean, I think that there's like a lot of just a lot of people that are I don't want to like lay it totally on greed, but I want to lay it on like misunderstanding. And also I think like misunderstanding about like what sort of the goals. Don't think like any reasonable person is like trying to like take everybody's stuff away and make them live on, you know, in some like impoverished situation or anything even remotely like that. It's just more like, how do you create a system that's like sustainable for people to go forward, that like legitimately is sustainable.
It's difficult. I mean, I don't like when people call it greedy when someone saves their money and wants to keep their money, and you know, someone will say you're greedy, and in the same breath say you're greedy, give me your money. You know, you want someone else's possession at the same time, but then call them greedy in the same breath.
I think it's, yeah, I think to me it's like it depends on the context. So like, I think that to me what greed is it's having a thing at the expense of like at the expense of like other people, and usually like in a significant way. So I think that like if that is like I think that if that's what people mean by greed, it's okay. But like if they mean something else that I think is unreasonable, like, hey, you know, you should just give me this stuff without justifying it, then yeah, of course, I think that's silly. I don't know. I don't know if I'm like talking a bit too much about politics right now.
thinking.
That's fine.
Wonder if we'll ever have a libertarian president in my lifetime.
What type of libertarian?
Right wing. Yeah, lower right wing libertarian.
So like more NCAP-y?
I'd say maybe not an ANCAP, more like a minarchal, maybe maybe a centrist libertarian, not a centrist libertarian, like a closer to the center libertarian, maybe almost considered a classical liberal.
Okay, fair enough.
Like Gary Johnson, he wasn't really a libertarian by a lot of the views. I mean, I heard somewhere that he doesn't even agree with the non-aggression principle, which I think a lot of people, that's like almost a requirement to be a libertarian.
I mean, yeah, I guess perhaps, I mean, I don't know, like I'm very much not, like I'm very much not that, but I understand. Let's say I didn't talk much about my ethical model, but a lot of my politics is just an expression of that.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.